Why does it feel like your cat has suddenly become a stranger? Have you ever walked into a room and felt your cat deliberately avert their gaze? That split second when you reach out to stroke them and they flinch just a fraction of an inch? Or when the purring cuts off abruptly? Or perhaps they choose the cold, empty chair across the room instead of the warmth of your lap? Again? If you have sensed that quiet, heartbreaking chasm widening between you and your feline, please know you aren't the only one. Today, on Meow Range, we are pulling back the curtain on the truth behind 5 specific mistakes that can instantly sever the bond you share with your cat. Welcome back to our cozy corner of the internet, a podcast-style space where we trade fascinating facts, moving stories, and unexpected insights about the cats we adore. Consider this your regular coffee date with a friend who truly understands the feline mind. There is no judgment here, only authentic empathy and wisdom backed by science. We are here for one reason. We love these enigmatic creatures, and we want to help you construct the deepest, most resilient trust possible with your companion. Now, I have a fact that might genuinely shock you. One of these 5 mistakes is so incredibly pervasive that research indicates 87% of cat owners commit it every single day without having a clue about the harm it inflicts. And the most tragic part? Most people believe they are expressing affection when they do it. I am going to guide you through every one of these bond-breaking errors, explaining precisely why they drive your cat away, and most importantly, I will show you how to repair them. But before we descend into the details, I have a small favor to ask. If you have ever felt that sting of rejection when your cat walks away, or if you have ever questioned why they don't seem to trust you as fully as you wish they would, please hit that subscribe button and leave a like on this video. I am not asking for the sake of the channel's vanity. I am asking because this knowledge has the power to transform your relationship, and I don't want you to miss out on it. The YouTube algorithm is a fickle beast. If this video helps you, a simple like ensures you will discover more content that can keep healing and fortifying your bond. Your cat is relying on you to learn this, so please take that single second. It matters more than you realize. Let's begin with the story of Luna. Luna was a stunning 3-year-old tabby living with a devoted family in Portland. Her human, Jennifer, always described her as a cuddle bug and incredibly playful, until everything shifted after a Thanksgiving weekend. Extended family had come to stay, and everyone was captivated by Luna's emerald eyes and plush coat. They couldn't resist scooping her up, squeezing her, and passing her from aunt to cousin like a living plush toy. It seemed innocent. It looked like love. But within days of the guests departing, Luna began to vanish. She would slink under the bed the moment Jennifer entered the room. She abandoned her spot on the couch. She would recoil at the slightest movement of a hand. Jennifer was heartbroken. What had become of her sweet girl? This brings us to mistake number 1, forced physical affection. Here is the fundamental misunderstanding most people have about cats. They are not simply small dogs. Their neurology is wired entirely differently regarding social interaction and bodily autonomy. Cats are solitary hunters by evolutionary design. Unlike pack animals, they do not possess an instinctual drive to be in constant physical contact with others. Their personal space is a sacred territory, and when those boundaries are crossed, something profound shifts in their nervous system. Research from the University of Lincoln's School of Life Sciences analyzed stress markers in domestic cats during forced interactions. The results were both remarkable and sobering. When cats are restrained or held against their will, their cortisol levels, the primary stress hormone, spike aggressively. But here is the critical detail. This isn't just about temporary annoyance. Repeated violations of their boundaries generate what researchers term anticipatory anxiety. The cat begins to link the owner's mere presence with the potential of being trapped, grabbed, or touched without permission. Consider the implication of that. Every time you enter a room, instead of thinking, "Oh look, my favorite human," your cat is thinking, "Do I need to prepare an escape route?" The signals are always there, but most of us miss them because we aren't fluent in the subtle dialect of feline body language. When a cat's ears swivel backward, even a fraction, they are screaming, "I am uncomfortable." When the tail starts twitching or thrashing while you pet them, that is an excitement. It is agitation boiling over. When their body stiffens under your palm, when they lean away rather than into your caress, or when they immediately groom the spot you just touched, these are all polite requests saying, "Please desist." But we don't stop. We mistake their tolerance for enjoyment. We assume that because they aren't hissing or biting, they must be fine with it. However, here is the heartbreaking reality. Many cats simply freeze when they feel trapped. It is a survival mechanism known as tonic immobility. They shut down because fighting or fleeing feels impossible. Picture this. You are sitting quietly reading a book when someone double your size marches over and hoists you into the air without asking. They squeeze you, hold you in a posture you didn't pick, and ignore your quiet pleas to be put down. Even if they are smiling and whispering how much they adore you, your nervous system is shouting, "This person does not respect my safety. This person is unpredictable." That is what forced affection does to your cat's brain, and the fallout ripples in ways that crack the foundation of trust. Luna didn't stop approaching Jennifer because she stopped loving her. She stopped because she could no longer predict when affection would turn into a trap. The trust, that core belief that this person is safe, was compromised. So what is the remedy? It begins with a revolutionary concept. Let your cat be the initiator 100% of the time. Learn the art of the slow blink, that soft, deliberate lowering of the eyelids cats use to signal safety and love. When you slow blink at your cat from across the room and they return it, you are holding a conversation that says, "I am not a threat. You are safe here." Then you wait. Let them come to you. When they do approach, let them dictate the terms. Perhaps they want to rub their cheek on your shin, but not be petted. Honor that. Maybe they want to sit near you, but not on you. Perfect. Maybe they will sniff your fingers and walk away. That is their prerogative. Respecting that choice builds more trust than any forced hug ever could. Jennifer embraced this. She stopped reaching for Luna. She utilized the slow blink. She sat on the floor to lower her profile, and within 2 weeks, something magical occurred. Luna hopped onto the sofa next to her, not to be touched, just to be near. Jennifer didn't move. She just slow blinked and whispered, "Thank you." 3 days later, Luna climbed into her lap for the first time since Thanksgiving. But this time, it was Luna's decision, and that changed everything. But here is what truly breaks my heart about this scenario. Most people genuinely believe they are pouring love into their cat when they scoop them up or pull them into unwanted snuggles. They have no clue they are erecting walls instead of bridges. And this next mistake? It is even more invisible. It destroys trust in ways you cannot see, occurring in the very moments you think you are doing everything correctly. It is woven into the fabric of your daily life, your voice, your habits, and your cat's brain is tracking every inconsistency, every unpredictable shift that happens in the quiet moments. When you think you are giving them space, when you believe you are respecting their boundaries, there is one sound, one tiny habit that is sending the exact opposite message directly into your cat's nervous system. And the damage? It is compounding every single day. Mistake number 2, inconsistent communication patterns. That sound I alluded to? It is something most of us do on autopilot. It is the drastic shift in your voice from a sing-song sweetness 1 minute to sharp frustration the next. It is feeding your cat at 7 a.m. on Monday, 9 a.m. on Wednesday, and barely remembering by noon on Saturday. It seems trivial to us, these minor variations in our daily rhythm, but to your cat's brain, it is chaos wrapped in uncertainty, and it is slowly eroding the bedrock of trust you have worked so hard to establish. Let me introduce you to Tom. Tom was a dedicated cat dad to a magnificent orange tabby named Marmalade. Tom worked rotating shifts at a hospital, days 1 week, nights the next, with random overtime scattered in unpredictably. He loved Marmalade fiercely, always made time to play when he was home, and could not fathom why his cat had become so vocal, so demanding, and so anxious. Marmalade would yowl at bizarre hours, overgroom his belly until pink skin showed through the fur, and startle at the faintest noises. Tom worried he had adopted a difficult cat, but the truth was much simpler and much harder to hear. Researchers at Cornell University's College of Veterinary Medicine conducted a fascinating study on feline stress responses in domestic environments. What they discovered should alter how every cat owner views their daily routine. A cat's limbic system, the part of the brain that processes emotions and stress, is a pattern recognition machine. It is constantly scanning for routine and anomalies. When patterns become unreliable, when they cannot predict what happens next, their baseline anxiety level rises and remains elevated. Think about what this means practically. when you come home. And sometimes you are cheerful and engaging, but other times you are distant and ignore them. Your cat cannot build a reliable mental model of what happens when my human returns. Or when dinner appears at wildly different times, they cannot relax because they are stuck in a loop of when will my needs be met. The data is striking. A comprehensive behavioral study found that approximately 73% of cats presenting with behavioral issues at clinics lived in households with highly inconsistent routines. These weren't cats with medical ailments. These were normal, healthy cats whose environments had become unpredictable enough to trigger chronic stress. And here is what that stress looks like. Excessive vocalization is often a cat's attempt to exert control over an unpredictable world. Compulsive grooming is a self-soothing mechanism, releasing endorphins to counteract the cortisol flooding their veins. Some cats become Velcro cats, shadowing their owners everywhere to monitor them. Others become ghosts, withdrawing because they have given up on anticipating the future. Marmalade's howling? He was trying to establish a rhythm in a home where nothing felt reliable. His overgrooming was a desperate attempt to comfort himself when the world felt chaotic. So what is the solution? It is something I call consistency anchors. You don't need to become a robot or regiment every minute of your life, but you do need to create reliable pillars around the moments that matter to your cat. Feed them within the same 1-hour window every day. Their metabolism and brain will learn to trust that food security is real. Dedicate 10 minutes of focused play at roughly the same time each evening. Use the same tone of voice for the same types of interactions. Tom made changes. He couldn't control his work roster, but he bought automatic feeders set for consistent times. He created a ritual. No matter when he walked through the door, he would spend 5 minutes sitting quietly on the floor, allowing Marmalade to approach, speaking in the same soft tone. Within 3 weeks, Marmalade's yowling dropped by half. Within 6 weeks, the bald patch on his belly began growing back. But creating consistent patterns is only one piece of the puzzle. Because even in the most structured, predictable home, there is another mistake that cat owners make. One that violates something even more primal than routine. Mistake number 3, invading their safe spaces. Let me tell you about Shadow. Shadow was a sleek, jet-black cat who had claimed the sunny corner of the guest room bed as her sanctuary. For 3 years, that was her fortress, the one location in the house where she felt completely, utterly safe. Then her owner, Michelle, decided to redecorate. She shifted the furniture, replaced the bedspread, and reorganized the closet. She thought she was making the room more inviting. She had no idea she was dismantling Shadow's sense of security. Within days, Shadow stopped entering that room entirely. She became skittish, spending her days hiding in the basement, refusing to relax anywhere in the main living areas. Here is a crucial aspect of cat psychology that most people overlook. Cats are both predators and prey in the wild. This dual nature means they have a profound biological need for what animal behaviorists call a secure base, a location where they can drop their guard completely, where they are absolutely certain no threats can reach them. Research from Ohio State University's College of Veterinary Medicine examined chronic stress in indoor cats and found something remarkable. Cats without guaranteed, inviolable safe spaces showed significantly elevated stress markers, even in loving homes with no obvious threats. Their bodies existed in a state of low-level hypervigilance because they never felt truly secure anywhere. And we invade them in ways we don't even recognize. We move their bed because it clashes with the rug. We run the vacuum right next to them while they sleep. We drag them out of their hiding spots to show them off to guests. We rearrange furniture without considering that we have just erased their mental map of safety. The signs are there if you look. Dilated pupils even in bright light, a sign of arousal and stress. A tail that flicks constantly when they should be resting. The inability to settle down and sleep deeply. Some cats even start urinating outside the litter box in a desperate attempt to mark territory and create a sense of ownership. Shadow's transformation was heartbreaking. The confident, affectionate cat became a nervous wreck, always watching, never resting. Michelle noticed her sleeping with one eye half open, her body never fully limp. The solution requires a total mindset shift. Your cat's safe spaces aren't suggestions. They are requirements. Once a cat has claimed a spot as their sanctuary, it needs to become essentially untouchable. Do not move their bed. Do not rearrange the furniture around their favorite hideout. Do not interrupt them when they retreat there, even if you just want to say hello. Michelle learned to work around Shadow. She created a safe space map of her home, identifying the 3 places Shadow consistently chose for security, and she committed to never disturbing them. She placed a cozy bed in each spot and made a rule. Those areas would never be vacuumed, cleaned, or altered while Shadow was using them. The change took time. It took 4 weeks of consistent respect for boundaries before Shadow began to relax again. It was 8 weeks before Michelle saw her sleeping deeply, fully stretched out, completely vulnerable in the way only a truly secure cat can be. I know this feels overwhelming. You are discovering that your cat has been speaking a language you didn't fully comprehend. But here is the truth. Awareness is the first step toward healing. Every cat owner makes these mistakes. The difference between a broken bond and a thriving one isn't perfection. It is the willingness to learn and adapt. Now, what I am about to share next, this is where things get personal. Because this mistake doesn't just break trust the way the others do. It breaks something deeper. It breaks their spirit, their fundamental belief about whether the world is safe. And the devastating part is, it happens in seconds. It is something that occurs in a single moment of frustration, a raised voice, a sudden movement, a reaction you cannot take back. And in that split second, your cat makes a decision about whether you are safe to trust with their vulnerability. And here is what haunts me about this particular mistake. The damage can last for months, even years, because unlike the other mistakes where trust erodes gradually, this one shatters it instantly when one moment changes everything. That decision is not something they can easily undo. Because unlike the gradual erosion of trust from inconsistent routines or invaded spaces, this mistake creates what neuroscientists call a threat memory, a powerful imprint in your cat's brain that associates you with danger. And once that memory forms, it colors every interaction that follows. Mistake number 4, reacting with anger or punishment. Let me tell you about Whiskers. Whiskers was a curious 2-year-old tuxedo cat who loved exploring countertops. One afternoon, while his owner David was working from home on a high-stakes deadline, Whiskers jumped onto the desk and knocked over a glass vase. It shattered, and David, exhausted, overwhelmed, and at the end of his rope, exploded. He yelled. He made a sudden, lunging movement toward Whiskers. He didn't hit him, didn't even touch him, but the damage was done in that single second of rage. Whiskers bolted, and for the next 3 months, he wouldn't enter David's office. He would skitter past the doorway, ears flat, belly low. He stopped greeting David at the door. He began urinating on David's side of the bed. The playful, trusting cat became a nervous stranger in his own home. Here is what happens in your cat's brain during moments of perceived threat, and why this is so profoundly damaging. Cats have a highly reactive amygdala, the almond-shaped cluster of nuclei in the brain responsible for processing fear and threats. When they experience something their brain interprets as dangerous, that amygdala fires intensely, creating what is essentially a neurological alarm system that says, "Remember this. Survival depends on it." Research from the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine examined long-term behavioral changes in cats following single-incident trauma. What they discovered should make every cat owner pause before raising their voice. A single, isolated episode of perceived aggression from a guardian can warp a cat's behavioral patterns for months. In certain documented cases, these shifts in temperament persisted for over a year, resisting even the most dedicated rehabilitation attempts. And here lies the critical misunderstanding that fuels this mistake. Cats do not process the concept of punishment the way human beings do. They lack the cognitive framework that says, "I committed an error, therefore I am being corrected. Therefore I must alter my conduct." That is distinctively human logic. Feline logic is far simpler and significantly more primal. This human just became volatile and threatening. This human is no longer safe. When you shout at a cat for knocking a glass over, they don't think, "Oh, I shouldn't push things off tables." They think, "This giant makes terrifying noises without warning. I must avoid them or remain on high alert in their presence." When you spray them with a water bottle, swat in their direction, or make sharp, aggressive gestures, you aren't teaching them a lesson. You are teaching them that you are a potential predator. The consequences ripple outward in truly heartbreaking ways. Some cats, like Whiskers, start avoiding specific rooms or zones linked to the punishment. Others develop a condition known as redirected anxiety. They become so stressed by the unpredictability that they express it through behaviors like inappropriate urination, rough play, or destructive scratching. It isn't vengeance. It is a nervous system locked in survival mode, unable to downregulate stress because the one creature who should embody safety has transformed into a source of fear. The statistics are grim. Studies analyzing cats surrendered to shelters reveal that roughly 64% are given up due to behavioral issues, aggression, litter box avoidance, and destruction. And when behaviorists excavate the history of these cases, an overwhelming majority lead back to punishment-based interactions that fractured the cat's sense of security within the home. Here is the truly vicious component. Punishment generates a loop that feeds on itself. You punish the cat for a behavior. The cat becomes stressed and anxious. That stress drives more bad behaviors, more accidents, more scratching, more defensiveness. You punish more. The cat's stress spikes further. Round and round it spins, with the bond deteriorating with every single revolution. David's breaking point arrived 6 weeks after the vase incident. Whiskers had urinated on his pillow for the 3rd time, and David found himself on the precipice of screaming again. But something stopped him. He realized he was about to replicate the exact error that had birthed this nightmare in the first place. Instead, he sank to the floor and wept. And in that moment of raw vulnerability, the dynamic shifted. Repairing trust after anger-induced trauma demands a level of patience most people don't realize they possess. It is not a quick fix. It is not even a medium-term fix. It is a commitment to weeks or months of consistent, gentle, predictable behavior that slowly proves to your cat's nervous system. The threat has vanished. It is safe here again. The protocol David adopted, under the guidance of a veterinary behaviorist, began with total disengagement. For 1 entire week, he did not initiate a single interaction with Whiskers. He simply existed in the shared space, speaking in hushed tones, moving with deliberate slowness, and never making direct eye contact. He transformed himself into the least threatening presence imaginable. Week 2 introduced positive associations. Whenever Whiskers entered the room, David would toss treats, not at Whiskers, but near him, so there was zero pressure to approach. He would engage with toys, dragging them across the floor, allowing Whiskers to observe or join without expectation. By week 4, Whiskers began lingering in the office doorway again, just standing there, watching. David ignored him, continuing to work with calm focus. Week 6 brought the first tentative sniff of David's outstretched hand. Week 8 marked the first time Whiskers rubbed against his shin since the incident. The complete transformation required 3 months. 3 months of patient, consistent, gentle interaction to reverse the damage of one explosive second. And even then, David noted that Whiskers startled more easily at sudden movements than he used to. A lingering sensitivity remained, a small scar on their history that would likely never fully fade. The lesson is crystal clear. Prevention is everything. When you feel the heat of anger rising, when your cat has done something frustrating, destructive, or messy, the single most important thing you can do is pause. Walk away if you must. Breathe. Remind yourself that your cat is not being malicious. They are being a cat, operating on instinct and need, not spite or revenge. If you have made this mistake, if you have yelled, if you have reacted with fury, if you have punished, please hear this. You are not a bad cat parent. The fact that you are understanding this now proves you care deeply. Healing is possible. It demands patience and consistency, but it is absolutely achievable. Whiskers and David rebuilt their bridge. You can too. But there is one final mistake we must discuss, and truthfully, this is the one that haunts me the most. Because this one is invisible. It is silent. It resides in the way we think about our cats, in the quality of attention we offer or withhold. And the cruelest twist? Most people are convinced they are doing everything right. They purchase the premium food, the designer toys. They provide shelter and top-tier veterinary care. Yet, they are missing the one thing cats crave above all else. The one thing that, without it, all the crystal bowls and towering cat trees in the world cannot forge a real bond. You might be guilty of it right now, even as you listen to this. And your cat? They have been trying to tell you, in their subtle dialect, that something essential is absent. The one commodity money cannot buy: presence. True, attuned, consistent presence. That is the missing link. Not just your physical body in the house, but your emotional availability, your genuine focus, your capacity to truly see and respond to your cat as the sentient individual they are. Let me introduce you to Oliver and Sarah. Sarah was a high-flying marketing executive pulling 70-hour work weeks. She lived in a pristine apartment, equipped with top-of-the-line automatic feeders, a cat tree that cost more than most sofas, and every toy imaginable. And she had Oliver, a stunning Russian blue she had adopted 2 years prior. On paper, Oliver lived a life of luxury. But something was fundamentally wrong. Oliver had ceased playing. He had stopped carrying his toys to her. He would sit by the window for hours on end, barely shifting. When Sarah returned home, he would glance up, then look away. No chirp of greeting. No figure eights around her ankles. Just nothing. Sarah convinced herself he was simply an independent breed. But deep down, she knew the connection had severed. This is mistake number 5, emotional unavailability. Here is what researchers at the Università degli Studi di Milano uncovered in a groundbreaking study on cat-human attachment. Cats are infinitely more attuned to their owners' emotional states than we ever gave them credit for. They do not just coexist with us. They read us. They decode our stress levels, our distraction, our emotional presence or absence. And when we are physically there but emotionally checked out, they feel the vacuum. The study utilized this secure base test, originally designed for human toddlers. They discovered that cats with emotionally available owners demonstrated secure attachment. They explored with confidence, checked in regularly with their human, and used them as a source of comfort. Conversely, cats with emotionally unavailable owners either clung anxiously or, like Oliver, disengaged entirely. And here is the statistic that should make us all freeze. Cats with securely attached relationships suffered approximately 40% fewer stress-related health issues, fewer urinary tract infections, fewer digestive disorders. The quality of emotional connection didn't just dictate behavior. It dictated physical health. But what does emotional unavailability actually look like in practice? It is subtle. It is when your cat drops a toy at your feet and you absent-mindedly toss it while doom scrolling on your phone. It is when they offer you a slow blink and you don't even register it because you are binge-watching TV. It is when they attempt to initiate play and you say, "Not now," for the 5th time that week. It is being in the same room, but a million miles away in your mind. Here is the heartbreaking reality. Cats do not keep asking forever. They are not like dogs, who often persist with enthusiastic hope. Cats possess a dignity about rejection. They try. They test the waters. They reach out. And when those signals consistently go unanswered, they stop. They learn that their efforts are futile. Oliver had stopped bringing those toys he used to carry to Sarah. She would glance up, say, "That's nice, sweetie," and return to her laptop screen. Eventually, he quit. The slow blinks? She would walk past him, talking on her headset. He stopped offering them. He stopped attempting to connect. Sarah's wake-up call arrived during a rare sick day. She was lying on the couch, phone turned off, with nothing to do but rest. And Oliver, cautious and testing, jumped up beside her. Not on her, just near her. She extended her hand, and he sniffed it. She remained still, just existing in the moment. And for the first time in months, Oliver rubbed his head against her palm. Sarah wept, because in that quiet moment, she realized what she had been doing. She had been giving Oliver everything money could buy, except the one thing he actually needed, her. The solution sounds deceptively simple, but it demands a fundamental shift. You need what I call quality presence time. 15 minutes a day of completely undivided attention. Phone off, TV off, no multitasking. Just you and your cat, fully present in the now. Here is the protocol that salvaged their relationship. Every evening at 8 p.m., Sarah would sit on the floor, phone left in another room, laptop closed. She would not reach for Oliver or call him. She would simply sit, relaxed and available. The first 3 nights, Oliver watched from the safety of across the room. On night 4, he crept closer. By night 7, he sat within arm's reach. On night 10, he rubbed against her knee. From that point, Sarah learned to follow Oliver's lead. If he wanted to play, she engaged fully, actually playing, watching his movements, celebrating his pounces. If he wanted to sit quietly, she offered slow blinks and soft words. She practiced mindful petting, being fully aware of his responses, adjusting to exactly what he needed. The transformation took 6 weeks. 6 weeks of 15 minutes a day to heal a bond that had taken 2 years to break. Week 3 brought the first purr Sarah had heard in months. Week 5, Oliver brought her a toy. She stopped everything and played with him for 20 minutes. His eyes suddenly held a light that had been missing. Week 6 brought the moment that changed everything. Oliver climbed into her lap, curled into a ball, pressed his head against her chest, and delivered the longest, slowest blink she had ever witnessed. And she blinked back, tears streaming, whispering, "I see you. I am here. I am really here." Now, let's examine the thread that connects all 5 mistakes. Forced affection breaks trust by violating boundaries. Inconsistent patterns create anxiety through unpredictability. Invading safe spaces removes their security. Anger introduces fear. And emotional unavailability teaches your cat they do not matter. All 5 make your cat feel unsafe, unseen, or unimportant. But here is the beautiful truth. Cats are incredibly forgiving creatures. Their capacity for healing, for granting us second chances, for rebuilding what was broken, it is extraordinary. I have seen bonds restored after years of damage. It takes time. It takes consistency. But it happens. If you have caught these mistakes early, you might see improvement within 2 to 3 weeks. If the damage runs deeper, expect 2 to 3 months of dedicated work. The first signs are subtle: a slow blink offered again, voluntary approaches, relaxed body language, deep sleep happening near you. Think of rebuilding a bond like cultivating a garden. You cannot force the bloom. But with consistent care, proper soil, regular water, and patient attention, growth happens naturally, uniquely, and beautifully in its own time. Studies show that 89% of cat owners who implement these changes consistently see significant improvement within 4 weeks. Not perfection, improvement. A step forward. A moment of trust rebuilt. The fact that you are here, that you have listened to this entire conversation, tells me everything I need to know about the kind of cat parent you are. You are willing to face hard truths. You are willing to evolve. Your cat is so incredibly lucky to have you. I want to hear your story. Which of these 5 mistakes hit closest to home? Are you working on rebuilding trust right now? Drop a comment below. I read every single one, and I will respond to as many as I can. If deep dives like this resonate with you, please subscribe. We are building a community of conscious, caring cat parents who want to do better for the animals we cherish. Thank you for trusting me with these hard truths. Thank you for being willing to grow. Remember, the bond you share with your cat isn't fragile. It is resilient. And with awareness, patience, and genuine love, it can become stronger than you ever imagined. Every slow blink is a conversation. Every purr is an act of forgiveness. Every moment of presence is a bridge back to trust. Until next time, give your kitty an extra slow blink from me. This is Meow Range, reminding you that the best relationships are built one gentle moment at a time.